and welcome to Shiny Side Out, coming to you from Australia, the land down under, for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's right. Listener-funded radio, no less, which means if you can donate, please do. Any kind of currency is good, including crypto. Can't donate, that's understandable. Times are tough all over. So if you can tell people about the station, if you like, subscribe, share, all good, comment. These are all good things. And tell people about the station. Tell people about our shows. Shiny Side Out, Plato's Cave. All good. All good. You can listen on any platform, on any means these days, any app, including, of course, in the comfort of your own home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. This is show number 705, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? 705?
It sure is.
Beautiful. 5 and 700. That's a lot of shows. Yeah, that means we've been doing this for a while now, 14 odd years, thereabouts. Yeah, that's a day and a half. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
Mr. Dark and John.
But for myself, of course, it's the Dirac people, and we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Thank you very much. Now, another thing that you might like to know is that the archives are free, completely free. So you can go to the archives, enjoy listening. Another good reason to tell people about the station. Now, I'm suffering from allergies at the moment, so I apologize. I will probably have to either go on mute or you will hear me sniffling as the pollen works its way through my sinus cavity. There's a couple of things, though. Housekeeping. We had a lot of people viewing our shorts. Thank you so much. Really, really love it. Love the engagement, too. Lots of comments. And I need to make a correction. So let me just blow my nose for a second. There you go. That was the cough button. Well, how do you know when to cough? That's crazy. No, listen. We talked about the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk quite a bit on Plato's Cave, and we speculated about the shooting. We speculated about a whole bunch of stuff, and we did that before we knew what kind of weapon had been used. We knew that before, before anything really came to light. I want to make a couple of points here to clarify. When we made these comments, we didn't know what rifle had been used, or ammunition for that matter. And I maintain here that we still don't know. Okay? We still don't know, because I don't trust that they found the weapon, the Mauser and all that. I also don't think they have found the suspect yet. That's my opinion. My opinion. I'm not saying anything else. I really don't think they have found the right guy yet. And certainly, I don't think that person would have acted alone. That's my opinion. Only my opinion, again, right? And I still maintain this was not an easy shot. I still maintain, especially a single shot, this was not easy. Okay? And it does require a relatively high degree of skill. I stand by that, irrespective of what some people have said in the comments. Okay? So, and I further maintain that you have to look at who is benefiting from the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Okay? Put your emotion to one side. Put your emotion to one side. And then logically think about who is reaping the benefit here. Okay? The most benefit. You always have to follow. You know how they say follow the money? This is the same. Follow the benefit. Follow who. Qui bono. Who benefits? Qui bono. In the meantime, of course, many other things have happened. One thing that we didn't get any airplay is Tucker Carlson's 9/11 documentary. I haven't seen anything about it at all. Right? That's a bit odd. So I don't know if it has aired or not. I don't know. Right? I'd love to watch it. And I'm even tempted to become a member of his whatever he has. So that's yeah. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. So be interested to see if anybody in the chat knows if Taka has released his 9/11 documentary or not, because they were talking about stuff that we've been talking about for decades now, Dave. It's been decades, not years, decades. that we've talked about 9/11 and all the things that went on that day. And and I realized when I was listening to these newscasts as well as clips on YouTube and other places, I realized that a lot of the people commenting, were either very, very young when this happened or hadn't been born yet. Right? And so they don't really understand the full scope of the things that went on before, after, how the world changed, all the strange things that happened that day. And of course, if you only follow the government narrative, then you would never question this. And there has been, over the last 20 years at least, there has been a lull in documentaries looking at 9/11 from the angle of, well, what actually happened? What really happened? Why did so many things go so catastrophically wrong? If you are looking at it from that angle, you can look at it from that angle. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that many things go wrong. If that were the case, the planet wouldn't function anymore. If that many things went wrong, all the time. So no, I'm sorry, that doesn't fly for me at all. I don't think that many things can go wrong. But again, some people believe that. Do ask the question, and this is why we're gonna spend a little bit of time next week talking about 9/11. Maybe just a couple of moments now as well today. But Dave, how's your week been, my friend?
Oh, the week is good. Week is good. It's tremendous to be gainfully employed. I'm going to say that, and thanks to my employer, very, very much, for seeing what other employers didn't see. So thank you, big shout out to you. It's given me a whole new burst of energy, Mackie, to be honest. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I am now so motivated. It's a big change in my life. Now, I've just been looking over Tucker Carlson's own channel, and there's nothing at all.
Really?
Interview with Sam Altman, a live thing from a month ago. There's nothing on his channel. So unless he released it purely on X, which I'll be looking at during the show, I'll see what I can come up with.
Well, but this is a documentary. Like, this would be like an hour long at least, I would imagine.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There are 5 parts. Can you release that on X? Something that long?
Oh yeah, you could do something like that. So.
Oh, hang on! I found something.
Oh, I found something.
TuckerCarlson.com.
Oh, really? Is that where he put it?
Here we go.
Because
so
I've seen
TuckerCarlson.com
from 1 day ago.
Yeah.
From 1 day ago, it's a different channel. The Complete Day, episode 1.
Now here we have it. It's on TuckerCarlson.com. The 9/11 files, members only. I'm gonna see if I. What do I have to do to join? Let me see if I can.
Pay
anyway,
money.
I might join there. Oh, you're gonna pay money. Ah, yes, you do. You have to pay money. Right. Look, I just might, because I wanna see what he has there. Okay, cool. Anyhow, so it's out there, but I can't obviously see it because I'm not a member. So
I get it. That's okay. We'll watch it, and we'll bring you some short information snippets from it. But I doubt that we're going to learn anything new. It's good. Hopefully, there is something to learn. If I only learned one thing, the whole thing was worthwhile. Mackie, as far as the Tyler, the suspected or accused killer of Charlie Kirk, who is Tyler Robinson, was a news story put out by Australia's ABC News, and all the links to everything we show on the screen will be below the video in the long form video. All right, they just said, look, he grew up in wherever, Utah. Yeah, there's really nothing to see here. They talk more about, believe this, Becky, they talk more about the landscape of Utah and his scholarship than anything else. They're predominantly white, Utah, and that's it.
Well, you see, let's see, the kicker here for me is this. Okay, and I'm going to be perfectly honest here. He's a Mormon, and Mormons, like Mennonites and Quakers and such, are notoriously pacifist, right? So killing is not really on the agenda for those guys, if you know what I mean.
Oh, is he currently being held in a cell with subliminals, nudging him? Was he already nudged? Do you know what I mean?
Look,
are they programming him right now? I don't know, because if they've found who they believe to be a good enough patsy to take the fall for their professional, I don't know.
I don't know. All I know is that it's really odd that first of all, the FBI didn't find him. To be clear, right?
Wasn't it the local
and
police
secondly,
or someone?
Well, yeah, but apparently he confessed to his father, and then either his father or a family member seemed to have called the sheriff's bureau.
There you go.
And they came to pick him up. So, look.
So
again,
according to
how this sounds, but I don't think they have
Reuters. Yeah, according to Reuters, no criminal record, 3rd year of his apprenticeship. That's it. That's really all we know. And he wasn't political.
Yeah.
He was registered to vote, but he didn't have any party affiliation. And he was classified as an inactive voter. I think that's really extraordinary. That someone with no political affiliation would be so
his parents
enabled. Mm-hmm.
Go on. Yeah, his parents, I think, were Republican. I think, but so what? And you're right. He himself didn't seem to be affiliated to any specific political. I don't know. It's just
it is pretty crazy here, because the picture of the person, the suspect, is a lot thinner in the face, like almost gaunt in how slender they are. And the only picture they've got of this fellow, he's like, he looks sporty. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Look,
it's early days, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'm not convinced. He has, in his picture, he's got a lot of freckles, and the pixelated image is so blurred that you couldn't ID the person from it.
No. The body shape is about right. He's got this. He's white. He's a white, thin guy. That's all we know. And yes, he's a white, thin guy. The guy in the video was a white, thin guy. But
that's not enough.
Yeah, well, but apparently they've got his confession, right? But again, they found Lee Harvey Oswald pretty quickly as well. And we know what happened there, right? So I'm
going to suggest that isn't. Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the killer. So
yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Just guessing,
Just
And don't forget, you need to take him out before the criminal case, so he can't confess or go against the narrative.
Correct. So either way, maybe we're looking at, and again, don't forget that MK Ultra is alive and well. I don't think MK Ultra was ever fully disbanded. Is he? Is this young kid? Is he? I don't know, a victim of that
MK Ultra
particular. Who knows? But again, I maintain that it was meticulously planned and executed, and whoever did it was very calm and cool and collected. Okay.
I wouldn't like to find out that this kid, he's an adult, but this young adult. I wouldn't like to find out that he was in a BlackRock commercial. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you.
Because that happened
I'm sure
the last thing that happened. It's like, look, I wouldn't like to find that out.
Again, you know what I think about the assassination,
Mm-hmm.
and you know who I think is behind it. I don't have to repeat that. But there's so many other things, and we
I've got a
neglected
whole
it.
bunch of tabs open, ready to
Exactly,
go.
exactly. Why don't you go ahead, my friend?
All right. Well, the first thing I wanted to mention was a story from 4 days ago, and I've got it on screen. And this was the Melbourne Police Department had protests of left and right people yesterday in Melbourne. There was 4 separate groups, but including a neo-Nazi group and the National Socialist Network, and also a left and right on their own. And this was about the immigration protest. So you had 4 separate groups all intending to protest on the same day, and they were suspecting a clash. And the story is extremely frustrating. Police warn against violence at planned Melbourne protests. And there's no story about the actual protest. This is from 4 days prior. Mackie, I dare you, go to ABC News and try and find a story about yesterday's protest in Melbourne. Zilch. There's nothing.
Interesting.
So that to me goes alongside. So here's some stories that all line up together. In England, London anti-immigration protests scuffle with police who promise many more arrests. And that was from yesterday. These were coordinated across the world. Nepal's Gen Z protesters are continuing the fight for their future, even after picking a new prime minister. It's not over. It's okay to say another country's in trouble, but you can't say your country is in trouble. Isn't it extraordinary? Here's another one. This is the protest sparked by Indonesian MPs' perks and allowances spread across the world. And now they're saying this was one of the groups. The protest, only 400 people attended, Mackie, in Melbourne. Last week, not even yesterday's protest. Can't talk about yesterday's protest. Yeah, there were thousands. There's no footage, can't see anything. And they go, oh, you know, it's okay. You know, everything's fantastic. The world is a great place. We should love being wherever you are. And I think that knowing they're talking about England almost falling into civil unrest. I mean, across the entire nation. I saw a map with all these fires. So every one of the little towns that they have, because, you know, it's a beautiful place to have a small little village and then a road, another village. I think village life is really important to having a community rather than big anonymous cities. You know everyone in the village. So what's happened in England is there is exactly the same issue. They're talking about immigration, how it's lost its way. There was a YouTube clip or a thing I sent. I think I might have sent you, Mackie, this morning, in Australia, talking about the increase from 15% up to 38% of immigration in the last 10 years, in the last decade. So in Australia, there's an enormous amount of immigration. I'm not saying anything. I'm not taking a side on immigration at this point. I'm pointing out that the Western countries right now are in a pickle. They've over-immigrated themselves into a dire state of losing their own identity, which is inevitable if the balance shifts enough and you do it too rapidly. And it just shows it's a rather large mistake that your culture seems to move beneath you. You don't realize that that's happening until it's already too late. And I think these protests are tantamount to the inadequate Let's call it project management of what immigration should be, what the people are supposed to be doing, or what's the idea around that immigration? Is it to infuse the people together into one, like mashing plasticine together of different colors? You'll then just end up with gray. That's the color that it all smushes into. If you've got, let's for instance just say green, and you start putting blue into it, it's never going to stay green. That's the problem. And I think my impression of what immigration should be like is multi-origin, not multicultural. Because eventually you'll have a tipping point of a cultural explosion within your country, and it's going to upset the apple cart. So this is what is being commentated from around the world, especially those in the Western countries who have had the most to lose. I know Europe struggled through that in COVID and through those the wars that saw a lot of instant immigration of millions of people. And to me, that's a tragedy of losing your identity as a nation. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying I think it was just poorly managed. Meki, back to you with the studio, with that hot potato.
Yeah, I'm not touching any hot potatoes, but I will say though is this. What I will say is this. He is, sorry, Tyler Robinson was a Mormon, even attending Mormon church, etc. People are in disbelief that he could have done this clearly, and everything in his family life. We're talking about a true blue apple pie kind of American family, apparently, right? That's what we're talking about here. Conservative, more or less, as most Mormons are, not a crazy lefty Democrat of the radical left, which is crazy and left, democratically left. Do I have to say left again? So, not quite that kid. And yeah, so but that's all I want to say about that. What I do want to say is a couple other things. Now, in Israel, the sentiment is that Netanyahu is now the only person standing in the way for the hostages to come home. He's doubling down. He has started his actions against Gaza City. He is looking to annex the West Bank. All of these things are happening. He has already struck Qatar, which had established itself as a kind of Switzerland in the Middle East, where people could come together. Mm-hmm. He has effectively derailed the peace process. He and his party are not interested in the Palestinian cause as much as they don't even acknowledge, some of them at least, the existence of a Palestinian people. There are a couple of cabinet members, the ultra-right, that don't acknowledge Palestinians as people, or as a people, I should say. What I learned as well, much to my chagrin, because I can't express to you how much I loved the show, but Jerry Seinfeld apparently has been shown to be extremely racist, to the point of denying the Palestinians, peoplehood, if you will. Or these aren't people. They shouldn't have freedom, long live the IDF, etc., etc. That's what he keeps saying. He's got no truck with peace or the Palestinians, which I found astounding, considering the persona that I believed him to be from, of course, it's a TV show, but still, he pretty much played himself, right, on the TV show. And then I watched him in other things, interviews with him. He seemed like a very nice, phlegmatic kind of guy, the kind of guy you can have a coffee with, a good chat, etc. Like comedians driving cars, for example, right? Mm-hmm. But apparently, he's a dyed-in-the-wool racist that doesn't really believe, I guess, in his heart of hearts, that Palestinians are people. So
Becky, on screen, I've got a news story here. It's from yesterday. Actually 2 days ago. And it was at least 32 people have been killed in a barrage of airstrikes across Gaza City. Among the dead were at least 12 children, according to the medical staff at the Al Shifa Hospital's morgue.
Yeah. Well, okay, talk about children. Okay, so they're now saying officially 60,000 Palestinians have been killed. Of course, that stands in stark contrast to the 1,200 or 1,200 that were killed during the Hamas incursion into Israel, which now seems like a lifetime ago, to be honest. So it's 1 to 60, I guess. So you kill one Israeli, they kill 60 Palestinians. That's where we are right now. Less conservative estimates put the number much higher. Is that true? I don't know. I can only go by the numbers that I've given out officially, 60,000. Of the 60,000, a disproportionately large number are children and women, but children specifically. And not just killed. Of course, killed we're talking about, tens of thousands of children killed, tens of thousands killed. But, many, many more thousands injured, of course, and maimed and maybe even irreparably damaged by this war. So I think it is safe to say without hyperbole that an entire generation of Palestinians, mentally healthy Palestinians, has effectively been wiped out. I think we can at this point. I think we can say that now, right? And Netanyahu is persisting. Donald Trump, what a shock, is saying, he didn't like the Qatar bombing. He didn't like what's happening here and there, and he's not doing anything, and he will not do anything. Donald Trump will not do anything. It's not going to happen. It will not happen. In the same way that Donald Trump will not act on the Ukraine, which is losing ground, but as we said, very slowly, but it's losing ground. But since the incursion in Poland by Russian drones, the NATO member states in Europe have redoubled their efforts to support the Ukraine and shore up their borders along the Baltic states, as well as the furthest reaches of the Scandinavian states that are part of NATO. So that's happening. So I think Putin is probing. I think Putin wants to see what happens. Because just like, and I hate to say this, but just like Hitler, when Hitler was probing, Hitler he went across the Rhine. That was the first thing he did. And the standing orders for the German army then were, as soon as you encounter any resistance, and that the other side of the Rhine was held by the French at the time, you withdraw. He didn't want conflict at that point. As soon as they experienced resistance, they were meant to withdraw. Nothing happened. He took the Rhine, beautiful. Next was the Sudetenland, which was part of Czechoslovakia. Largely ethnic Germans, lived there, and he made a case, well, it should really be part of Germany. Promptly was made part of Germany. Austria, of course, Heiman's Reich, home into the empire. It was called the Anschluss. They were amalgamated into the German Reich as Austria-Hungary. That happened, and then the next thing was he went after Poland, because he hadn't actually encountered any resistance along the way to any of the things he did. Nothing. In 1938 as well, Reichskristallnacht, at which point it became clear, I think, what he had in mind for the Jews and how he felt about the Jews in earnest, because it was the first time that there was such a widespread show of force, destruction of property, as well as several killings and brutalizations of Jewish citizens. And don't forget, these are German citizens that happen to be of the Jewish religion. Okay, German citizens. These are not foreigners. See, this is not like some kind of foreign entity that lived in Germany. These are Germans that happen to go to the synagogue instead of, church or mosque or whatever, right? But again, Hitler was not opposed at any point. It was called appeasement. It was the great failure of the interwar governments, the British, the French specifically, to stop Hitler when he could have been stopped. It was the great failure. And I fear, I hate to make the comparison, but nothing else is left because, while Putin might not be a raging anti-Semite, Putin certainly doesn't give any thought to killing his own people or killing anyone else for the matter. It doesn't really bother him too much. He's ex-KGB, so it's what he does. It's I guess when you start killing, it becomes your default go to solve any problem. So that's where we are with him. And he was never opposed in any of his action. In Chechnya, he wasn't opposed. He wasn't opposed when he took the Crimea initially in 2014. Now there's really no opposition from anyone, no meaningful opposition from anyone in the West when he attacked Ukraine the second time. The invasion of a sovereign nation. The invasion of a sovereign nation. Sovereign with a seat in the UN. Right? Completely different story with Taiwan. Taiwan is not a sovereign nation. If China attacked Taiwan, they have a better case for attacking Taiwan. I'm not saying they should or I support it, but from the point of view of international politics, China has a better case of invading Taiwan than Putin had of invading Ukraine. Just to be clear.
Okay? And China wouldn't listen to The Hague anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? And I wanted, yeah, go on.
There's a difference. There's a difference. That's the only.
I'm not claiming there isn't. So, I wanted to bring this to the Pacific now. It's got a little touch on China, but it's nothing terrible. And it says the Pacific. Oh, I've got a story here, and this is the Pacific. The whole of the Pacific Islands won a stunning climate victory at the International Court of Justice. What's next? And their victory is its 15 judges found that countries had a legal obligation to protect the climate from greenhouse gas emissions, and that failing to act could make polluting nations liable for reparations to nations harmed by climate change. I'm not saying that the International Court of Justice is toothless, but we'd have to see, because that would be litigation that would prove that one way or another. But this was 8 hours ago, right? Vanuatu's climate minister has warned Australia that approving the extension of Woodside's massive Northwest Shelf gas project could be in breach of a landmark International Court of Justice, the ICJ, ruling on climate change, saying this is straight away, as soon as that broke, he's just gone straight on it, saying the federal government needs to bear the judgment in mind when it makes the final decision. And this last one they're all different stories. Pacific leaders reaffirm support for Taiwan's right to attend the regional forum. And it says, in short, the Pacific leaders have backed Taiwan's right to participate in the Pacific Islands Forum. That's the same one that all these judgments came from as post-discussions, despite a push from China to exclude Taiwan from the regional gathering. These are all connected because those same people were the ones that are now making a lot of noise towards the polluting countries, saying, well, your polluting's killing us, so now you've got to pay us money. So I think the proof is in the pudding here and how that works out, because legal judgment aside, you've got to prove that humans are the only cause of climate change for that to stick. Being a partial contributor to it, since we're still warming from the last ice age, still warming. We haven't lost all our glaciers, our land ice yet, but you can see a trend towards that occurring. We don't live in a postcard, it's still changing from the last time. And climate records show that there is a time that we can head towards where there isn't any land ice. Therefore, the sea levels go up. Therefore, the Pacific Island nations are in trouble. If you want to make it colder, if you want to make it colder and get lots of land back for your country, but do that at the expense of all the countries who now enjoy the current climate by making it colder and reducing us ever more towards the equator, that's also a problem. England has sprayed twice now into the northern hemisphere particulates to try and cool the climate down. That to me doesn't say that it's carbon. that's causing the climate. That says the sun is causing the climate.
So, look, I think, again, I know we said this many times before. Climate change has happened in the past and will happen in the future. Climate change is something that the Earth is just undergoing, and we don't know if there's a cycle to it or not, but periodically there's climate change. It's ice age warming. It's like a yo-yo, and the Earth has undergone it numerous times. It's a fact. You can stand on your head, and this was before people started burning fossil fuel. Okay, and yes, most climate models prior to the advent of I guess human-induced climate change, or the theory thereof. Most models in meteorology and weather studies, etc., suggested that really only the sun is powerful enough to affect global weather on this scale. Now, the problem that we have here is this: we don't really know. We think we've got indications, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's all good. But are we burning a lot of fossil fuel? Yes, we are. Is it amazingly so? Like, I mean, is there any other source of carbon emissions into the atmosphere? And the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. This is fires, wildfires. Now I'm just looking at a global map of fires here, right? There's always something burning in the world, and it is still the single biggest contributor to greenhouse gases are the fires that are burning all around the world. Now, you can argue that this is sort of a looping effect, and I would say fair enough. And you can also argue that the human presence might make it worse, right? You can argue that, but I don't think that the human activity is solely to blame. That's why, in my opinion, this carbon trading and this whole nonsense about stopping climate change is a complete and utter nincompoopish argument. Why? Okay, how do you stop an earthquake, Dave?
I don't know. Don't look at it.
Don't look at it. It's not testing well. You can't stop an earthquake, okay? You can't stop a tsunami. You can't stop a hurricane. You have to think of climate change on those scales. It's a natural occurrence. Does human presence or human activities make it worse? Maybe, possibly, sure, right? But we are now at a point where it actually is completely irrelevant, because permafrost has started to melt, glaciers have started to melt,
mm-hmm.
Land ice is melting, which is really the critical thing here. Ocean temperatures, are both rising and falling, funnily enough, right? Salinity in the oceans is changing,
mm-hmm.
right? You might not think that's important, but it is. Which means that certain ocean currents could change. The permafrost melting means that methane gas... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. So methane's being produced by the permafrost, the bacteria in the permafrost starting to activate. The Southern Ocean has reversed.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Right? It's already starting.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, methane is actually, I think it was like 80 times worse.
That's right.
Than carbon, any kind of carbon dioxide or monoxide, doesn't really matter. As it's 80 times worse as a greenhouse gas. Okay, methane is much worse. So that's being released, and who knows what else is being released? Pathogens, viruses, bacteria, blah blah blah. So that's all happening, right? These are now. It's like dominoes. These are now knock-on effects. There's nothing we can do to stop it. Nothing. And anyone that says they can, it's a complete nonsense. Should we live more consciously? Yes. Should we produce less garbage? Yes. Should we live in a society that doesn't just throw everything away? Yes. But that's the capitalist system we've all bought into. The constant need to consume and produce and produce and consume and consume and produce. It's a completely insane system, which is contributing to a number of issues we're having. The forever chemicals, of course, the ever-growing mountains of... Yeah. Ever growing mountains of garbage and general I guess, toxification, if that's a word, of the environment, with China leading the way in the extraction of rare earth minerals. The only reason China is leading the world in rare earth minerals or extraction thereof is because there is no environmental protection agency in China, and they can turn vast tracts of land into toxic sludge swamps.
That's it doesn't sound great.
Doesn't
go on holidays.
Let's go
to one of those.
We'll glow forever. That's why China is leading it, because it's a highly polluting process to extract these minerals. So yes, we could do better, but carbon trading is a complete insanity, and it's only really designed to make money for some people. It doesn't solve any problems. Because this is sorry, I have to say it, Dave, because it really bothers me.
Go on.
Carbon trading. I'm Ghana, for argument's sake, and I don't pollute the environment enough, right? So I've got per capita, I've got, let's say, a ton of carbon, and say I've got 1 million people in Ghana. That's 10 million tons of carbon pollution I'm not using according to the standards, right? Mm-hmm. So America can now come, or China or whoever, and go to Ghana. Hey, Ghana, I want to buy those 10 million tons of carbon pollution. Here's X billion dollars. Knock yourself out. Do what you want. And then America or China or whoever buys it goes on merrily polluting to the new levels of pollution they're allowed, because they've bought the carbon credits from Ghana. Instead of saying, be like Ghana, right? Be like Ghana and pollute less. No, we said, hey, Ghana, here's a way to make some quick cash for you. Bring you up to the correct polluting levels.
That's right. That's right.
And because that's the mindset here, right?
That is actually the net effect. Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, okay, this is just one example, but any country that doesn't just listen to this, doesn't produce enough pollution, the mind boggles. But see, again, this is the capitalist system. We need to turn a profit, Dave.
Oh yeah, 100%. I like the way you think, Mekki, because all the countries in the world are trying their hardest to not pollute anymore, but then carbon credits allows another country to pollute your expected amount of pollutants, and they can get away with it. It's the same as if I buy stuff, let's just say on Temu or AliExpress or whatever. I know I do, and I confess to it, and I know that our country didn't produce them, but it's okay that another country pollutes for us to enjoy such a sweet, lucrative, very cheap. We couldn't make it for the same cost. We don't. There's a whole bunch of reasons. Our wages are too high, our safety concerns are too high. We've got OH&S, and we have a whole bunch of things that we must adhere to in order to have someone employed and to operate a business, and we have to pay taxes. All those things contribute to the high cost of manufacturing in our country. So we outsource it, but that outsourced country or company should be the one who is being charged for the polluting of it. That would dissuade us from actually requesting those products. Does that make sense? If we were charged for that carbon of the products, I'm not saying we should be like England, because they just finished this test and limited everyone to a daily amount of carbon, and that includes food and everything you do. So that's including your transportation and the energy costs in your house, everything that your entire ecosystem around you that keeps you alive and housed and traveling. They put a hard limit on how much you could spend as far as carbon was concerned. And it was surprisingly very little. And it's not an amount that is, it certainly wouldn't suit me going to work. I've got to travel 60 kilometers to get to work. Could you imagine, Mekki, if that's why the 10-minute city has been generated as an idea to limit the amount of carbon that you make. And that fits in to that design.
Yes.
Only.
Yes. 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 Completely nonsense, though. You mean,
Mhm.
say,
They're
the
arbitrary
problem
numbers
that we have,
anyway.
of course they are. But see, one of the largest problems that we have as a society, we've moved away from the way that we're meant to live.
Mhm.
So if you have a 10, 15-minute city, whatever, you all live in high rises, you probably don't know your neighbor. It could be 10,000 people to a building, and you never meet anyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that these 10,000 people would live in a village or a small, town, if you will.
That's right.
And a lot of people would know each other because it's just how it is. And that's where I grew up. And there's enough space on the planet to do that. But what we saw with industrialization, people moved to the cities because that's where the jobs were, the factories, the offices, the high rises, etc. I mean, Manhattan is probably the poster child for that kind of setup, where a huge amount of people rushes into the city every day. Singapore, same. Massive amounts of people come from Malaysia to work in Singapore for the day and then go back home in the evening. So there are these places where people just rush into work, and then some of them move into the city, and more and more people move into the city away from the country. So there's plenty of space, excuse me, to live in the country. There is, but the perceived benefits of the city, which are, I guess, a culture and food, entertainment, all those wonderful things that a city brings to life, are just not to be had in the country. Might be a better lifestyle though, but still, people want to, or have been wanting to live in the city now, to the point where cities are becoming unaffordable completely globally. Nobody can purchase property. Everybody becomes a renter. And to Dave's point, the 10 or 15-minute city makes a lot more sense. Shorten your commute, live in an affordable apartment, which might be tiny, but like Hong Kong style, right? But enough, and have everything that you need there, just within a 15-minute travel radius, if you will. And a lot of people just, except maybe for like, the occasional holiday or some such, might never leave that radius. That's, of course, exactly what the parasites want.
That's right. Us, well, you wouldn't be allowed to go anywhere.
Well, yeah, there might be restrictions, right? And it'd be a lot easier to lock down. It's a lot easier. We saw this in Melbourne. It's a lot easier to lock down a high-rise than it is to lock down a neighborhood.
That's
much
right.
Easier. They locked down a high-rise in Melbourne during the COVID lockdown. Again, hundreds of people in that building, mostly poorer immigrants and whatnot. And they literally weren't allowed to come out for, I think it was weeks on end, if I'm not mistaken, right?
They did that in Sydney as well, in the inner west.
Yeah, insanity. Complete insanity, but there we were, right? And again, once you have the majority of people living in those kinds of conditions, it's a lot easier to control them, right? And that's really what they want, rather than, which is the much smarter move, in my opinion, spread out. Forget the cities, forget the high population density, because nobody can afford it anyway. In Sydney, the median house price is $1.5 million, $1,500,000 for not even. I'm not talking about a palace. This is median, and it used to be when I came to Australia, the same house that now costs you $1.5 million, $1.8 million would cost you $100,000 in 1988. $100,000. Now, 1.8. I can tell you, my prospective salary hasn't gone up 18-fold.
No, it hasn't.
I can tell you that. It hasn't. Yes, yours, Dave? No. So rather than being smart and encourage people to move to the country, which would revive, the rural communities and attract more doctors and other professionals into that, and make Australia, and not just Australia, this is a global problem.
It sure is.
In China is a massive issue. It's a huge issue in China. Massive. America, same thing. Massive issue. Overpopulated. India, oh my God. I've been to India, and the cities are bursting at the seams, right? So we have to, but we're not stepping away from it. No. More population density, Dave. More population density, 15-minute cities. That's the answer, not spreading out. That's what the parasites are looking for, right?
Yeah, well, they want that because it supports their new governance in a corporatocracy, Mickey.
Exactly, and climate change is a beautiful story to tell to enable those kinds of activities. It's a beautiful story.
It really is. It warms the cockles of my heart, Mickey, to be
That
honest.
warms the cockles.
You know,
I know, right?
It does. It does. You know, one world government, new world order, one world currency, digital currency. Ah, if only, if only they could speed it up and get us there quicker. Because the longer they take, the more resistance there'll be towards it, which they probably want anyway.
You know, I don't know, because populations are becoming more phlegmatic and more, I guess, subdued in many ways. You and I, being Gen Xers, are maybe the last generation of independently minded and hard to govern people, because we grew up fairly independently. Played on rusty playgrounds, no seatbelts or bike helmets or anything like that. If you fell off a tree, you'd break your neck or arm.
That's right.
Well, that's
we survived.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. That's right.
Not today, Satan. That's right. But yeah, but the mollycoddling that's been going on, and everybody's a winner, and we all get participation trophies, and you know the woke movement as well. It's softened people to the point of, I want to be identifying as a cloud. What? Or rainbow? Why can't it be a rainbow? Because you're not made of light and water, you muppet. That's why. But that's okay. It's all right.
I found something.
Go on.
I found something in this. This has come out because of the Charlie Kirk killing. People who have been, I don't want to say the word, but happy that it's happened.
Oh yeah.
Are a different breed of people, and it disturbs me greatly that they're pleased that that's occurred. But they're from an extremely delicate civilization, a generation of people, mostly who are now, I suppose they should be very thankful that the viewpoints that they've held or grown into, that have now become publicly aware, more so than any other time in history, unless you live in Thailand. You can be anything you want. It doesn't matter. And look, I support them strongly to be whatever you want, but you still have to live in amongst everybody else, and you can't hate everyone for disagreeing with anything you say. You need to get a bit maybe thicker skin and just get on with life. Meki, the biggest change in my life that I remember there being was reading a news story where it was an American lady who worked in the US Postal Service, and she wanted to wear her captain's outfit from Star Trek to work.
Oh, okay.
She was a red shirt, Meki.
Right. Was she? I'm sorry.
Right?
That's funny.
She was a manager.
Yeah.
Right? So she wanted to be a red shirt, and she's a big fan of Star Trek, and she won a lawsuit to be able to wear this Star Trek uniform to work as her postal service uniform in a department that didn't require a uniform. So she goes, well, I like the thing so much, I want to wear it. It's like wearing cosplay to work. And she won that case. It's a very old case. It may not be even on the internet. But when I saw that happen, I went, good for you wanting to be you and having to fight it like that, to litigate, to be able to get to that point where you could be you. And that's why I do support anyone who wants to do anything. But you've got to still understand that you're within the bounds of the current civilization we live in. So tread carefully. Don't try to break too many bottles along the way, right? And guess what?
And there's the music.
Yeah.
We might come back to some of these points, because this has been an impactful week. So we'll see after the break.
So do like, share, subscribe. For this, there'll be a new video for the next hour.